Hey guys, this is Rick coming at you with Weed to No Basis, the podcast for all things cannabis business related. Are you an entrepreneur? Have something you wanted to create, something you wanted to bring to life in the cannabis industry? Maybe you've always wanted to partake in one of the biggest industries in modern day history. This is the podcast to listen to. Hey guys, this is Rick, and I want to welcome to the show. Remember, if you're watching today, if you're watching this episode, if you're watching any one of our episodes, it's because you too are on a Weed to No Basis. So we cover a lot of things here, as you know. Some of them are personal. We had my wife on here not too long ago in an episode, and she abhors the camera. We talk about, we have guests where we talk about their business and how they got to the place they're at. And some of them, like for instance with Jesse Elder, it wasn't necessarily about cannabis, but it was really about developing one of those bulletproof mindsets, if you will. And it was a very intriguing interview for me because I learned something as the interview kind of unfolded itself. And today I want to talk about one of those very distinct business topics. And this is a topic that we can talk about in any business, but of course, if you're listening, you want to know how to apply it to your cannabis business or startup or idea. So it is very cannabis centric. And 3 words: build to sell. Build to sell. And I didn't come up with those words, obviously, but here's where it started to make a big impact on me because there's a book called Build to Sell. And the author is a guy named John Warrillow. And I have some notes over there. But John Warrillow, the book, guys, it was an impactful book for me because, and I read it years and years ago. I want to say it's probably about 10 years old. But the premise of the book, and I'm going to peel this out for you guys as this episode unfolds, and I'm going to talk to you about the 4 things to be thinking about with your company or your idea and why building to sell is so important. 4 things. But a little bit background about the book. So John Warrillow wrote the book. Impactful book. And there's a lot of business books out there, folks. Not a lot of cannabis business books. So I reread books and I sprinkle green on them. And what that means is I really try to hone in on how can these principles or concepts apply to a cannabis entrepreneur. And again, guys, just if you're watching this for the first time, when I use the word cannabis, I'm referring to CBD, hemp, marijuana, whether you're a plant-touching business or you create iPhone covers for large cannabis companies, whether you market for cannabis, whatever it is, it's just an enveloping statement. But build to sell. So what I'm going to talk about today, guys, is what I call the C.T.O.P principle, like C.T.O.P. And I like using acronyms like that so you can remember key takeaways. They help me because, guys, business is, first of all, it's tough and there's so much new things, especially in our industry right now, that change. So I want to give you, and honestly for me too, is ways to remember concepts and ideas, especially as it relates to executing things in your business. You guys with me? So John Warrillow wrote this book, and the premise of it is that regardless of the stage you're in your business development, or you as an entrepreneur, is to be thinking about your business in terms of building to sell. Now, I realize, because I was once in this boat where I was going to build a company and it was going to be for legacy. Meaning my kids were going to come on board and then my grandkids, and then at some point when we were long gone from this earth, the great-great-great-grandkids would be a part of this company. And it's a fantastic thing to consider, and it is possible. But the reality is, guys, is build to sell is an important thing to remember, whether or not your company is going to be legacy or you are literally going to build it to sell it. And the reason why it's even more important nowadays in the cannabis industry is because mergers, acquisitions, roll-ups, consolidations, they're happening at a much faster rate. The fastest rate than in any other industry from what I can remember in recent history. Businesses that are now certainly can be qualified as just an idea are already being rolled up and purchased. But here's the thing, guys. I'm going to talk to you about 4 simple principles because the Build to Sell book it's a pretty big book and there's a lot of principles in there, but what I'm going to pull out for you is the 4 key ones. And I want you to think of the analogy again, or the mnemonic device, and it's called C.T.O.P. C.T.O.P. You guys got that? Now, if you need to grab a pencil, by all means, or just stop and review this. So The first thing, guys, when you're thinking about your company, whether, again, regardless of the stage, whether you're in ideation, you're in brand new startup, you're in hustle mode, you're validating your initial product or service, wherever you're at, maybe you're in the scale mode where you've got traction and you're scaling. Guys, it's never too late to think about these four things. Build to sell. Build to sell. The first thing, C, the letter C. I want you to think about like Sesame Street. C is culture. Now that's a big word. And some folks, maybe you're one of them, maybe you haven't put a whole lot of thought into your company culture because you've been so busy grinding. I get it. In fact, it's the startup entrepreneur's blessing and curse is we get caught up in the hustle and the grind. But guys, that is also part of your culture. The culture of your business isn't just your font and your logo and the color scheme and the picture of the lion or the leaf. The culture is how you are, how you present yourself as the founder or owner or shareholder, or even maybe you're a lead employee or a co-founder. Guys, the culture begins and ends with you. Culture, C, it's one of the first things to be thinking about from the get-go, even if you're, especially if you're in the ideation stage, like you have a great idea. Be thinking long-term about the culture. Not just as you grow your footprint, not just as you grow your company, your business, and create revenue, but now build to sell. Remember that. Think about if the day was to come and somebody wanted to purchase your company. You know what the first thing they may look at? Remember, guys, I'm taking my 4 key bullet points. Culture. What type of culture is your company? What do you stand for? Do you have a strong culture of accountability? Is there compliance, infrastructure? So guys, culture permeates every aspect of your business, from how you hire people to how you fire people. Does that make sense? So remember, build to sell. Even if you have no intentions of selling your business, building with these 4 key concepts in mind will create a business that's for the long term, whether for legacy or for acquisition. And right now, guys, remember, there's the M&A activity in the cannabis space is ginormous. Second thing number 2, C.T.O.P. The T is for talent. Now, talent can be another broad word, so I'm going to kind of broad concept and distill it down. Talent could be your first co-founder. Do they resonate with your culture? You see these begin to tie together, guys. Talent could be the first vendor you bring on. Guys, right now we have a lot of options. There's more and more. Maybe it's the company that's building your website. Maybe it's the person who's supplying you with your isolate. Think about their culture. Think about the talent that what are they bringing to the table? What is their level of professionalism? Now I want you to get a little more micro, a little more granular about talent, and I want you to think about your first hire. And also, guys, consider the people who you have already hired. Now, this isn't a statement on whether you should be setting people's futures free, called firing them, or not. But guys, do they fit your culture? Does the talent fit your culture? You see, guys, because now let's fast forward to the build to sell mentality. Whether it's a legacy business or you're building to sell, talent is an operative part and arguably one of the first things somebody is going to look at. When you hand the reins over as CEO or as founder to the new CEO, first thing they're going to see is the talent they're surrounded by, and or the culture, or a combination of those. Or think about you're building something to sell. Are you hiring the right people? Do you have the right mindset around you? Are they on board because they're aligned with the culture of your company? Does that make sense, guys? So now that's only 2 of the 4. And honestly, I could probably do a list of 10 to 15 things that folks are going to look at, especially with the whole build to sell mentality and mindset. But we're going to talk about the top 4. The next one. So we talked about C, T, O is organization. Now, I don't mean necessarily are you an LLC or an S-Corp. I don't mean are you in the state of Delaware or in the province of Rhode Island and things like that. I mean, literally, how is your company organized? Like, do you have stuff in the right places? And for some of us, a lot of us, in fact, you're in my home right now as we record this. This is our studio / living room, and right over there is our home office. We work from home. So organization, while it may not be as big of a deal, it's as much of a deal. And here's what I mean. When you walk into your office, whether it's a virtual or physical or whatever kind of office, is shit in the right place? You see, because again, whether it's a legacy or building to sell, what's the first thing we notice? Is it in disarray or are things in the right places? Now, of course, I'm literally meaning right now, are the books on the shelf, are they standing up? Are the papers in the files? Are the things like that? But behind the scenes, how are your accounting practices? So now let's get under the sheets. You see, because yes, what we see first impacts us. Culture and talent. What we see third, the organization, is where it's often where it's under the hood. You see, because a lot of times we think of our companies or businesses, and guys, let's be honest, is we're building the most beautiful car ever, whether it's a Ferrari or a Porsche or a Lamborghini, or if you don't like cars, whatever, pick your favorite analogy. Guys, when I talk about organize or organization, this is where you open up the hood. This is where you open up the hood, and does what somebody sees, whether it's you or your company or your vendors or a potential buyer or suitor, are they seeing a real Ferrari engine? So guys, when I talk about organization, it's not just your org chart, CEO, CFO, lead sales, outside, all those things. That's a part of it. It's also literally, how do you keep your financial house in order? Do you use some sort of system like Intuit, QuickBooks, Peachtree, things like that? Do you have systems in place that help manage and organize the engine? You guys tracking with me? Does that make sense? So now we've covered 3 of the 4. Okay, C.T.O.P. We've covered culture. We've covered talent. We've covered O for organize. Now the 4th one, and my thing is dinging. Guys, but I know I've said this before, guys, but literally we don't stop our workday to record. I literally have a timer and the computer down here. And I know we use a very high-tech microphone system and it captures all the dings. So, but the 4th one, guys, is prepare. Preparation. But I just like to keep the word simple. So C.T.O.P. The P is for prepare. How prepared are you? How prepared are you for one of 2 events? Or let's say 3 events. For the next 5 years to come, and for you to be in the driver's seat of your company, that's event number 1. How prepared are you for event number 2? That you're ready to hand the reins off. Maybe it's to a child. Maybe it's to a new CEO. Maybe it's to new leadership. How prepared are you for event number 3, where somebody comes in and you have built such a tremendous company because you focused on culture, talent, and your organization that they now want to purchase you, that the whole build to sell mantra comes to fruition? How prepared are you? Is your culture in order? Are people aligned on the same mission? Are they marching in lockstep? Does that make sense, guys? And I'm not trying to be military-esque here, guys, but culture trumps strategy every time. That's the truth. Talent. Guys, how aligned is your talent with the culture? Do you have the right butts in the right seats? Are the right people doing the right job at the right time for the right reasons? Guys, that is so critical, and that's where a lot of companies begin to fail because they think, I'm going to hire my brother, or I'm going to bring on my mom's friend from high school. And what you realize is, while it might feel good in here, guys, that's no way to run a business. Often, guys, we have to put the subjective parts of, guys, I'm not telling you to be heartless at all, but we have to remain objective about our companies. If you're truly building to sell, whether it's just for the sake of legacy, guys, or for a potential merge or acquisition down the road, whatever your dream or vision is, guys, you have to have these things in place. Organization, guys, it's the 3rd most critical step. And by that, I mean not just how you organize your literal file cabinets, because nobody wants to. You ever seen somebody who drives in a really nice car and it's dirty? I'm serious. You ever seen that? How you do one thing is how you do everything. Guys, so organization, not just of your personal self. I wear the same shirt every time I come on camera. The same shirt, guys. Organization, culture, all these things, guys, are exactly what we're doing here. We're transmitting the same message. But back to organization, guys. How is your data stored? Do you protect your IP? Do you have the attorneys doing the right things for the right reasons? Literally all those things. Do you have an accounting team, a CPA, a bookkeeper managing that part of your business? Guys, all of that thing goes into a healthy, well-run, organized organization. Tracking so far? And of course, the 4th thing, guys, was the P, prepared. How prepared are you? And I literally have some bullet points here because I didn't want to forget. Because some of you guys out there are listening to this, and a lot of you, in fact, I would say arguably, because I've spoken to many, many of you, is you're looking to open up a dispensary, right? Some of you are, whether it's CBD only or marijuana in rec legal or medical marijuana states. So when it comes to preparation, some things to be thinking about. And we talk about this in our mastermind group, for instance. We talk about some of the metrics, like what are your sales per square foot? Do you understand that metric? Are you prepared to share that kind of data because you're organized? See where that all ties in, guys? So I'm giving you the top 4, C.T.O.P. What are your sales per square foot? And I'm reading these off my notes because as we record this, we are opening up our first 4 retail CBD dispensaries. And so it's come right to our forefront. All of the things I'm sharing with you, we are living through right now. We're opening up retail dispensaries as we speak. Like literally, we have a team out in Katy, Texas today, this week. And those are the things we're looking at, guys. And let's just say you're not opening up a dispensary and somebody does come to look at your business as a potential acquisition. How is your brand represented in the marketplace? Are you prepared to talk about that? Are you prepared to the extent as a leader of your organization to think about where you sit in relation to the competitors out there? Again, whether you're a dispensary, whether you have a tincture line, some sort of specialty topical products, guys, whether you have a brand of dispensaries in California, how prepared are you to talk about these things? And another thing to think about, guys, in preparation, especially as related to leaving a legacy or selling your business or being acquired, is how do you relate to your community? And community is a really big word. How do you relate to your clients, to your customers? How do you relate to people if you're ever on camera? Like if the news comes out, how do you relate to that? Remember culture. Culture is a part of that. Talent is a part of that. All these things, guys, are relative. How do you relate to your community, to your constituents, to the people that know, like, and trust you? Those things are all going to matter, not just for legacy and the growth of your company, whether you pass it on down the ranks of your children or family, but especially, guys, if somebody comes and you have built something to sell and they want to buy. These are things you should absolutely be aware of. So this was short and sweet, guys. There's a lot of things to be thinking about when we think about build to sell mentality. And I'm not saying that you are going to sell your company. What I am saying is this. Listen up. Listen to this next sentence. Whether or not you plan on ever selling your business, if you build it with the build to sell mentality, you will build it right from the get-go. Does that make sense? Let me repeat that. Even if you never plan on selling your company, if you start from day one with the mentality of build to sell, you will build a dramatically different organization than if you came out of the gate like a lot of entrepreneurs do and just hustle and grind with no strategy, no intent in place. Regardless of all that, guys, build to sell mentality will set you up for success, whether it's legacy, a sale, or cash flowing until the day you meet your maker, whatever that is, guys. I gave to you the top 4 things today. There's a lot more, guys. If you have any questions, comments, you're curious about what else should I be looking for, Rick, or we to know basis, post them in the comments below if you're on Facebook and not when you're driving, okay? So make sure you're stopped and your car's in park, not in neutral, and don't hold up traffic to send a message. But ask your questions below. What else, Rick? What are the next 3 things? I'd love to answer your questions. Love to hear back from you guys. So guys, today's episode, guys, was an impactful one. It's a lesson I learned probably a decade ago. And like I shared, we just wanted to sprinkle some green on this and make it relevant to you, the cannabis entrepreneur, whether you're in startup mode or growth mode. Thank you for listening today, guys. Thank you for joining me in our living room. And remember, if you're watching this show, it's because you too are on a weed to know basis. Have an awesome one. Peace.